Hi, my name is Catherine Okello, and I'm going to be discussing home video today. Now, we'll begin with a brief introduction. The principal components of home video today at the consumer level include hardware, which is the DVD player or display, software or content, also the distribution. Three means of distribution include air, conduit, and reception by hand. Now, developments during the 20th century have resulted in a multi-billion-dollar television and film industry, and we'll also discuss this a little bit further along in the presentation. Now, initially, television had its humble beginnings, as with every technology, at a very basic point. Television could only be watched live or recorded on film, and was viewable on what was called very high frequency levels, or VHF. Video traveled on AM waves and sound traveled on FM waves. In 1941, the U.S. commercial television debuted with 6 channels, and the growth stagnated as a result of an FCC freeze on license applications during World War II. Between 1948 and 1952, 100 stations were on the air, and the freeze did finally end in 1952. In 1952, also the FCC decided to move to ultra-high frequency, also known as UHF, and then later mandated in 1965 that all antennas included UHF reception, whereas previously you did need to have a separate antenna, one for VHF and another for UHF. In 1953, we also do see the introduction of color television. We do conclude air reception and we move on to conduit reception. Conduit reception, or cable TV, arrived on the scene in 1949. By the 1970s, cable does increase in popularity. Enabling factors that are tied in with the success of cable television is the FCC freeze on broadcast channels, the lack of interference from radio waves, that is, and also the Cable Consumer and Protection and Competition Act of 1992. And about a decade after the passing of this act, you see the tripling in the number of cable programs available and almost the quadrupling in the number of satellite networks available. Next, we move on to reception by hand. In 1956, the first videotape for broadcast is created. Early home versions are not really user-friendly until the introduction of the VCR in 1969. Then you see the emergence of the Betamax and the VHS format. And a technology war ensues with Sony's Betamax and JVC's VHS VCR format, and Sony ends up losing out. Between the VHS and the DVD era, there is the introduction of what's called the Laserdisc, or vinyls, which are developed, but they never really catch on because of the emergence of the DVD in 1997. Now, the benefits of the DVD are that they are more durable than VHS, they're lighter and smaller too, and DVD comes out in 2 formats, HD DVD and Blu-ray. And these technologies emerge and a new tech war begins with HD losing backing from the major studios, Warner Brothers, and then all the smaller studios also abandon HD technology, and Blu-ray gains victory. Interestingly enough, this is the same Sony that lost out in the Betamax case. So that brings us to the moral of the story. In the field of technology, yesterday's losers may be tomorrow's winners. Video manipulation technology comes out with the home video camera containing a pickup tube as an image sensor. Now, in 1976, the photosensitive chip replaces tubing to create smaller, more durable cameras. Now, in the 1990s, you do see the emergence of the memory card cameras, and this results in even smaller cameras, and also the tangible benefit of being able to upload straight from the camera to the computer and also to edit it with Movie Maker or iMovie. In 2005, we also see cell phones able to record video as well, which is a major leap in smaller technologies, and many cell phones do have that capability today. Next, we move on to display, or the television set. The television set early on is comprised of tuners and monitors. Tuners change from VHF to UHF to cable ready, and then most recently to digital. Early televisions, known as CRT or cathode ray tube television, used phosphors to create pixelage, which then resulted in an image. Now, when it comes to choosing a television, it's recommended that 5 factors are taken into consideration. These are size, aspect ratio, and image quality, as well as style and connection. Now, also important to note, there are 3 quality guidelines, such as standard definition, enhanced definition, and high definition. Many people think that high definition is the best and that you simply must have high definition. However, it's important to note that higher resolution that is capable through the high-def television sets is not always better because of differences in the technologies. So, for example, even though your television does have the capability of having superior resolution, if the technology used to transmit the image is not superior in quality, it's not going to translate on your television set. Now, we move on to discuss some recent developments. Recently, there has been a federal switch to digital programming, and this required many people to either get a converter or buy a new display. And many people did decide to buy a new display. Now, in addition to that, there is a goal also to have digital television globalized by 2015, according to the International Telecommunications Union. Now, previously, when discussing radio broadcast and the switch to digital, and whether or not other countries would consider the switch and it would become globalized, there are similar questions raised here. Is that something that developing countries necessarily are going to do? Will that be a priority? How many people do actually watch television in developing countries? Is that technology even available? And if so, how can this be regulated on an international scale? Now we move on to consumer spending. As previously stated, television and film is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Between people buying movie tickets and viewing recorded videos, DVD rentals, DVD sales, online and video on demand or VOD purchases, the industry rakes in over $53 billion, and that's per year. Now, we've also seen a large jump in consumer spending shift from the actual video store onto kiosks such as Redbox and now, more recently, Blockbuster, which has resulted in many rental stores going out of business. With the economy slump, it really did not become economical to open these stores, pay hourly wages, and also from a consumer standpoint, it was difficult at times if you had to pay for, say, a membership to one of these video stores or rent new videos for $3 or so. I mean, from a consumer point, it really was not beneficial when we had bigger things to worry about at the time. Now we move on to sustainability. And this is something that is very important to take into account. Sustainability has to deal, at least in this section, with the long-term problems associated with electricity. Now, there are quite a few factors that do determine how much electricity the TV does consume, such as the size, the type of TV, whether it's plasma, LED, or LCD, and the display settings that are used on TV currently. Now, depending on the settings, depending on the size or the type of TV, depends on how much your electricity bill is going to jump. Now, if you have a large family, or if you happen to really want to save some money, these are things that you'd want to consider. There are also options of green television sets, such as those certified by Energy Star, which are an eco-friendly alternative. Now, these also do use up to 30% less than standard sets, and just even from a Christian perspective, it's important to note that we are to be good stewards of everything that we have, and so that's also something to consider. Now, additional factors to consider in closing are that when it comes to cable TV and TV by conduit, it's very similar to the situation with high-def television sets. For example, when we had spoken earlier about high-def television sets and the higher resolution not necessarily being the best thing to take into account, we now have to discuss the same thing with cable. Many people think that more channels means it's better. However, something that has been observed is that people tend to switch channels from a specific series of channels that they've already sort of programmed themselves to go to. So you may have that 300 channel package, but in reality you only watch like 20 or 30 channels, if that many. So you end up spending more money thinking you're getting a better deal. Now, recently it's come out that there is no direct correlation between channel use and the number of channels that people have. And in addition, there are many things to consider when deciding on your cable package, not just the number. Now, one other thing that I would like to add is that, like all other fields of communication technology, we're seeing rapid growth in the types of technology and the innovation that's coming out. For televisions, there's been the introduction of 3D televisions that are now available for public use, whereas previously you had to go to a theater and watch a specially formatted sort of equipment in order to go ahead and to take advantage of the three-dimensional technology. And so whether or not the 3D television sets will be successful, that has to be determined in the years to come. Obviously, cost is going to play a large part of it, especially with the economy still trying to recover, as well as the overall experience. Is this something that's going to be in demand? Is this something that's going to add at all in the large scheme of things to the experience as consumers? That's not something that we can determine at this point, and like I said, only time will tell. Now here's the question. Given the trends in video manipulation and display, how are the trends the same? How are the trends different? Now, essentially, what I'm asking is this. There has been a lot of development with trends in home video and video manipulation, as well as developments in how we see what we see in our displays. How are these trends the same? How are they different? And then overall, what do they reflect in the consumer? Especially since this is a prosumer economy. Now, thank you very much again for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and God bless you all.